The door flew open so hard it banged against the wall. Dad's coffee mug slipped from his fingers and crashed to the floor, hot liquid splashing across his shoes. His face turned white as paper. "Sam," he whispered, like he was seeing a ghost. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. 8 years. 8 long years since he'd told me I wasn't his daughter anymore. Now here he was, working at Beacon Hospitality Group, where I had just become the new CEO. My voice shaking despite my best efforts, I whispered quietly in shock, "Dad! Hello, is it you, Dad?" He moved toward me, arms starting to reach out, but stopped himself. "Samantha, is it really you?" The conference room I'd just entered was filled with executives from both companies. They had no idea about our history. To them, this was just the day Sam Finney, the hotel industry's rising star, took over Beacon Hospitality Group, the company my father worked for. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. I wanted to hug him and hit him all at the same time. But I just stood there, the $750 million acquisition contract forgotten in my hand, as the father who had thrown me out now looked at me with tears in his eyes. I never expected this moment. I never planned to find him here, and I certainly never expected to learn that he'd been searching for me all these years. But let me start from the beginning. I'm Samantha Finney, but most people call me Sam. I grew up in a small blue house on Oak Street in Portland, Maine. The house wasn't fancy, but it was full of love. Mom planted bright flowers in the front yard every spring. Dad built me a swing that hung from the big maple tree. My older brother Ryan and I spent summer evenings catching fireflies in jars on our little porch. Our family had deep roots in Portland. Grandpa Finney ran a small accounting office on Commercial Street by the waterfront for 40 years. He was so proud when Dad followed in his footsteps. Dad would take me to visit Grandpa's office sometimes. I loved the smell of the old wooden filing cabinets and watching the big ships from the window. Finneys have been keeping the books for Portland businesses since 1923, Grandpa would tell me, showing me old ledgers with neat handwriting. Honest work with honest numbers. Dad took over the family business when Grandpa's arthritis got too bad. He renamed it Finney Financial Services and moved to a small office on Congress Street. Mom worked there too, answering phones and greeting clients. They were a team in everything. Mom, Carol Finney, was the heart of our family. She made everyone feel special. She volunteered at the Portland Public Library on Tuesdays, reading stories to kids. She baked cookies for the whole neighborhood at Christmas. Her laugh could fill a room. "Life's too short not to find joy in small things," she'd say, dancing with me in the kitchen while cookies baked. Ryan was 4 years older than me, serious and smart, just like Dad. He was good at everything, baseball at Deering High School, math competitions, fixing things around the house. I looked up to him so much. I followed him everywhere until he got too cool for his little sister. Our childhood wasn't perfect, but it was happy. We went camping at Sebago Lake State Park every summer. We had Sunday dinners at Grandma and Grandpa's house. Dad taught us to ice skate on the frozen pond at Deering Oaks Park in winter. Everything changed when I was 12. Mom started getting tired all the time. She'd fall asleep reading to me. She'd forget things. Her skin looked yellow. Dad took her to the doctor, then to more doctors. The word cancer entered our lives like an unwelcome guest who never left. Pancreatic cancer, the doctor said. Advanced. Mom tried to stay positive. "I'm going to fight this with everything I've got," she told us, hugging Ryan and me close. But the treatments made her so sick. Her beautiful brown hair fell out. She got thin and weak. Dad tried to keep the business running while taking care of Mom, but it was too much. They hired a part-time bookkeeper named Mrs. Peterson to help at the office. I started doing more around the house, cooking simple meals, doing laundry, helping Mom take her pills. Ryan retreated into his schoolwork, staying late at the library to avoid coming home to the sadness. 6 months after her diagnosis, Mom was gone. It happened so fast. One day she was in the hospital telling me to make sure Dad remembered to water her flowers, and the next day she was just gone. Dad fell apart. He'd sit at the kitchen table for hours, staring at Mom's empty chair. He'd forget to eat. Sometimes I'd find him in their bedroom, holding one of her sweaters, crying silently. Ryan and I were lost too. I'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking I heard Mom's voice. I'd make 2 sandwiches for lunch before remembering she wasn't there to eat the second one. Slowly, painfully, we tried to find a new normal. Dad went back to work. Ryan focused on college applications. I threw myself into school, trying to make Mom proud. But our house felt empty. The flower beds got weedy. We ate a lot of frozen pizza. We stopped going to Grandma and Grandpa's for Sunday dinners because it hurt too much to see Mom's empty chair there too. Dad tried his best. He'd help with my homework. He came to my soccer games when he could. But there was always this sadness around him, like a heavy coat he couldn't take off. Finneys are practical people, he'd say while helping me with math homework. We work with numbers because numbers don't let you down. I knew he meant people let you down by leaving, like Mom did, even though it wasn't her fault. That's when Dad started pushing Ryan and me toward practical careers, safe careers, careers with security. Your mother's death taught me that life is uncertain, he told us one night. The best thing I can do for you both is make sure you can always take care of yourselves. For Dad, that meant following the family tradition of finance and accounting. Ryan was happy to follow that path. He was already good with numbers and liked the idea of taking over the family business someday. I tried to be interested too. I really did. I took accounting classes in high school and worked at Dad's office during summer breaks. But my heart wasn't in it. What I really loved was people, connecting with them, making them happy. I worked weekends at Just a Bagel, a little shop on Exchange Street in the Old Port. I loved greeting regular customers, remembering their orders, seeing their smiles when I'd have their coffee ready before they even asked. Dad didn't understand. That's fine for pocket money, he'd say, but it's not a career, not for a Finney. What I didn't know then was that Dad's business was already in trouble. After Mom died, he lost some of his focus. He missed deadlines. He turned down new clients because he didn't have the energy. Some longtime clients started taking their business elsewhere. Mrs. Peterson, the part-time bookkeeper, became full-time. But she didn't have Dad's skills with clients. The business started losing money, slowly at first, then faster. Dad never told us. He was too proud. He took out a second mortgage on the house to keep the business afloat. He cashed in his retirement account. He worked longer hours trying to turn things around. All this was happening while I was applying to colleges. Dad insisted I apply to schools with strong business programs. I got accepted to Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. It was expensive, but Dad said not to worry. I've been saving for your education since you were born, he told me. Your mother would want this. I didn't know he was using money he couldn't really spare. I didn't know he stayed up nights worrying about bills. I just knew he was proud when I got in, and I wanted to make him happy. Business finance, he'd tell the neighbors. My Samantha's going to be a big success. Ryan was already at University of Maine, studying accounting. He worked summers at Dad's office, trying to help modernize things, but the business kept sliding. Meanwhile, at Cornell, I was discovering a whole new world. My roommate Layla was from California and seemed so sophisticated. She took me to my first real restaurant, not fast food or a diner, but a place with cloth napkins and multiple forks. It was called the Heights Restaurant, overlooking Cayuga Lake. I was nervous about which fork to use, but the manager, a woman named Diana, noticed and quietly helped me. She was so kind, so professional. I watched how she moved around the restaurant, making every customer feel special. That's what I want to do, I thought. During sophomore year, I took a hospitality management class as an easy elective. Something clicked. I fell in love with the hotel business. The way a great hotel creates experiences, makes memories, becomes part of people's life stories. I started taking more hospitality classes. I got an internship at the Statler Hotel on campus. I worked extra shifts at the front desk, fascinated by every aspect of the operation. I didn't tell Dad about my changing interests. He wouldn't have understood what I loved about that career path, or seen any value in it. During breaks, I'd go home to Portland and work at his office, pretending I was still on track with the plan. But the business looked worse every time I visited. Fewer clients, more empty filing cabinets. Dad looked tired all the time. By senior year, I'd switched my major. Instead of finance, I was getting a degree in hotel administration, and I already had a job offer from Sunway Hotels in Boston. I was excited about my future for the first time since Mom died. Then came graduation day. The sky over Ithaca was bright blue. Families filled the campus. Dad and Ryan drove down from Maine in Dad's old Honda, arriving a day early. I hugged them both hard when I saw them. We went to dinner at Moosewood Restaurant downtown. I decided to wait until after the main course to tell them. But then Dad said, beaming with pride, "I'm so proud of you, my daughter, the finance whiz." My stomach nodded. I'd been avoiding this moment for a long time. It was time to reveal my secret, but how would he react? I knew it would break his heart, but I couldn't just keep lying to him. I should have said something much earlier. Now it was too late. Maybe you've experienced something like that before, where you have to confess something you know will be devastating. I took a deep breath and said, "Dad, we need to talk." The seriousness of my tone made him stop, his fork suspended midair. He frowned with sudden concern, eyes locked on my face. "What is it, Sam?" he asked. "I changed my major," I said, staring at my plate. "I graduated with a degree in hotel administration." Dad's face turned white. It was as if time stopped. The silence was awful. "You what?" Dad asked finally. "I got a job with Sunway Hotels in Boston, assistant manager trainee. It's a great company with hotels all over the country and—" "Hotels?" Dad put down his fork. "You're going to check people in and make beds? That's what you've spent 4 years at an Ivy League school for?" "Dad, it's not like that. It's management. It's business. It's throwing away your future," he said. His voice wasn't even angry, just disappointed, which was worse. "The job I arranged for you at Milestone Accounting starts next month. Mr. Peterson is expecting you." I should explain about Mr. Peterson. He was Mrs. Peterson's husband, a partner at a big accounting firm in Portland. Dad had pulled every string he could to get me an interview there. He saw it as my ticket to success, and maybe a way to save his failing business through a new connection. I took a deep breath. "I'm not taking that job, Dad. I already signed with Sunway." Ryan jumped in. "Sam, be reasonable. Dad pulled strings for this position. His business isn't doing great right now. This connection is important." "My business is fine," Dad snapped. There was his pride again. The same pride that made him hide how bad things really were. I looked at him. "Dad, I'm sorry about Mr. Peterson, but this is my life. I need to follow my own path." "Your own path?" His voice got louder. People at nearby tables looked over. "Your mother and I sacrificed everything to send you to Cornell. I've been working double shifts at the office to pay your tuition, and now you throw it back in my face?" I didn't know then how literally true his words were, that he'd sacrificed almost everything to keep me in school. "I'm not throwing anything back in your face. I got a degree. I got a good job. Just not the one you picked out for me." "Hotels," he said again like the word tasted bad. "Checking in drunks and changing sheets, this is your big ambition?" Now I need to explain why Dad hated the hospitality industry so much. It wasn't just snobbery. It was deeper than that. Dad's father, my Grandpa Finney, had grown up poor. His own father worked as a janitor at the Grand Eastland Park Hotel in Portland, now the Westin. Grandpa would tell stories about his dad coming home with aching feet after 12-hour shifts, his hands raw from cleaning chemicals, for barely enough money to feed the family. "Hotel work is servant work," Grandpa would say. "Finneys worked their way up from that." For 3 generations, the Finneys had climbed from hotel janitor to respected accountant. In Dad's mind, my choice was going backward, throwing away everything the family had worked for. "Mom would want me to be happy," I said quietly. His face went still. "Don't you dare tell me what your mother would or wouldn't have wanted for you." "But Dad," I tried to continue before he cut me off. He stood up and raged. "No, you want to throw away your future on this hotel nonsense? Fine, just do it without me. Don't bother to come home. Don't call me or write me, and don't ask me for money when this all falls apart." Furiously, staring at me coldly as if I was a stranger, as if I suddenly meant nothing to him anymore. Ryan begged, "Dad, please don't do this. Wait, Dad." But Dad was already walking out. Ryan shot me an angry look, then followed him. I sat alone in Moosewood Restaurant, surrounded by happy families celebrating graduation, and cried until the waitress gently asked if I was okay. I nodded, but I wasn't okay at all. Not by a long shot. I'd just been disowned and kicked out by my own father. I'd lost my mom to illness, and now I'd lost my father too. My father who'd said he loved me. Disowned just because I wanted to choose a career I would find fulfilling. I got angry, determined. How could he do this to me? Just before what should have been one of the happiest days of my life. Fine. I'd succeed without him. I didn't need his help or his money to succeed, and I would never ask him for a cent ever again. I moved to Boston with $342 in my bank account, a suitcase of clothes, and my old laptop. I found a tiny room to rent in a house with 5 other people on Commonwealth Avenue. The bathroom never had hot water. The kitchen always smelled like old takeout. My job at Sunway Hotels was harder than I expected. I worked crazy hours. The manager, Mr. Phillips, seemed to hate me. I scrubbed toilets when housekeeping was short-staffed. I covered the front desk when people called in sick. I helped in the kitchen during a big conference when the dishwasher quit. I was exhausted all the time. My roommates partied while I slept. I slept while they went to work. I ate ramen noodles and day-old bread from the hotel kitchen that the chef snuck to me because he knew I was barely making rent. At night, I'd curl up on my thin mattress and think about Mom. What would she say if she could see me now? Would she think I'd made a terrible mistake? Or would she be proud that I was following my heart? I tried calling home once. Dad hung up when he heard my voice. Ryan texted me, "Give him time. He's having money problems. His pride is hurt." I stopped calling after that. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake. But something kept me going. Maybe pride, maybe stubbornness, maybe the fact that I truly loved the hotel business, even on its worst days. 6 months in, I got a break. A big tech conference was staying at our hotel. The CEO of Tech Pulse forgot his presentation notes in his room. I ran up 15 flights of stairs because the elevator was slow, found the folder, and delivered it to him just as he was about to go on stage. The CEO was so grateful he mentioned me by name during his speech. Mr. Phillips noticed. He started giving me more responsibility, front desk supervisor, then assistant front office manager. I moved to a slightly better apartment on Beacon Street, one with actual hot water. I found a roommate who worked normal hours. Things were looking up. Then disaster struck. I got a call from Ryan. "Dad's business went under," he said, his voice tight. "He's lost everything. The house, his savings, everything." My heart sank. "Is he okay? Where is he staying?" "With me for now, but Sam, he refuses to talk about you." "I tried. He just walks out of the room." "Tell him I can help. I'm not making much, but I could send something. He doesn't want your help. Says he'd rather be homeless." The words stung, but I sent money to Ryan anyway. He returned the checks uncashed. The next few months brought more bad news. Ryan told me Dad was depressed, barely eating. The bank took our house on Oak Street. All the family photos, Mom's things, gone to an auction or the dump. The worst part was learning what had really happened. Dad's business had been struggling for years, ever since Mom got sick. He'd kept it from us, trying to handle everything himself. He'd used his retirement savings to pay for my college. He'd mortgaged the house to the limit. When a big client left, taking their business to a larger firm, everything collapsed. Dad couldn't make the mortgage payments. The bank foreclosed. His business credit cards were maxed out. He declared bankruptcy. Ryan was angry, at Dad for hiding things, at me for not being there to help. We argued on the phone. He said things he probably didn't mean. I said things I definitely didn't mean. We stopped talking. A year passed. I was promoted again, then again. I moved to a decent one-bedroom apartment in Back Bay. I started dating Jason, a chef at a restaurant near the hotel. Life was stabilizing. I tried reaching out to Dad again. Ryan said he'd moved to New York for a job. No forwarding address, no phone number. It was like he'd vanished from my life completely. 3 years after graduation, I was headhunted by Ocean View Resorts, a small but growing hotel chain. They offered me a position as director of operations at their flagship property in Miami. Double my salary, a chance to make my mark. I took it. Jason and I broke up. He couldn't leave Boston, and I couldn't stay. I packed everything I owned into my car and drove south. Miami was beautiful and terrifying. Palm trees, ocean views, a hotel 3 times bigger than what I'd managed before. Staff who resented this young northerner coming in and telling them what to do. I worked 18-hour days. I learned Spanish. I fixed problems no one else wanted to touch. I turned around the hotel's declining customer ratings. After 2 years, Ocean View promoted me to regional director, overseeing 5 hotels across Florida. I bought my first home, a small condo in Coconut Grove with a balcony where I could drink coffee and watch the sunrise. I still thought about Dad. I'd search online for William Finney, but there were too many of them. Ryan had moved to Seattle and we'd lost touch. My family had scattered like leaves in the wind. Sometimes, late at night, I'd look at the one photo I had kept. Mom, Dad, Ryan, and me at Camden Hills State Park, all smiling, Mom's arm around my shoulder. It was taken the summer before she got sick. I'd grabbed it from my dorm room before leaving Cornell, never knowing it would be the only family picture I'd have left. I dated occasionally, but work always came first. The hotel business was my family now, my home, the place I belonged. Then came the opportunity that changed everything. Sunset Capital, a big investment firm, approached me about joining their hospitality division. They were acquiring underperforming hotels, fixing them up, and either selling them or bringing them under top brand management. "We've been watching your career," said Ellen Morgan, the head of acquisitions. "You have a knack for turning properties around. We want you to lead our hotel operations team." The salary they offered made me dizzy. The equity package could make me wealthy. The chance to rebuild hotels from the ground up was irresistible. I said yes. For the next 2 years, I traveled constantly. Chicago, Los Angeles, Denver, Austin. Everywhere Sunset bought a hotel, I'd fly in, assess the property, replace management if needed, implement new systems, and move on to the next. I was good at it. Really good. The before and after numbers on our properties were impressive. Sunset kept giving me bigger projects, more responsibility. Deep down, I wished I could tell Dad about my success. Not to rub it in his face, but to show him that his little girl had turned out okay. That the hotel business wasn't what he thought. That I'd found my place in the world. Then Ellen called me to her office in New York. "We're looking at our biggest acquisition yet," she said, sliding a folder across her desk. "Beacon Hospitality Group, 27 properties across the Northeast. Good bones but terrible management. They're bleeding money." I opened the folder and scanned the financials. "They're undervalued. We could get them for $7, maybe $7.50. Ellen smiled. "That's why you're getting a promotion. If this deal goes through, you'll be CEO of our entire hospitality division, including Beacon." I nearly fell out of my chair. "CEO? I'm only 30. And you've done the work of someone twice your age. You've earned this, Samantha." The next few months were a blur of meetings, due diligence, negotiations. I focused so completely on the deal that I barely slept. $750 million was on the line. Finally, acquisition day arrived. We gathered in Sunset's New York office on Madison Avenue. The Beacon executives would be arriving any minute to sign the final papers. I stood at the window, looking out at the city, thinking about how far I'd come from that crying girl in Moosewood restaurant. From ramen noodles and cold showers to CEO. I wished I could tell Mom. I even wished I could tell Dad, despite everything. The door opened behind me. Ellen entered, looking excited. "They're here," she said. "Ready to meet your new team?" I smoothed my dress, took a deep breath, and followed her to the conference room. As we walked in, I scanned the faces around the table. Middle-aged men in suits looking nervous. And then, my heart stopped. At the end of the table sat my father. Older, grayer, thinner, but unmistakably him. I froze in the doorway as Ellen made introductions. "Everyone, this is Samantha Finney, the new CEO of Beacon Hospitality Group." Dad's coffee mug slipped from his fingers, crashing to the floor. "Sam," he whispered. The next hours were the strangest of my life. We somehow got through the signing ceremony. I made a short speech about the future of the company. Dad sat silently, staring at me like I might disappear. As soon as we could, Ellen helped me find an empty office where Dad and I could talk privately. When the door closed behind us, the silence was painful. "You work for Beacon?" I finally asked. He nodded. 5 years now, financial controller. "I had no idea," I said. "I thought you were still in Maine." "The business failed," he said, looking down at his hands. "I lost everything. Ryan told you?" "Yes, I tried to help. I know." He looked up, his eyes wet. I was too proud, too stupid. I didn't know what to say. 8 years of hurt didn't just vanish. "Sam," he said quietly, "I've been looking for you." I stared at him. "What?" "For years now. I tried your old apartment in Boston. I called Sunway Hotels. They said you'd moved to Miami. I went there, but you'd already left. No one would tell me where you'd gone. I couldn't process what he was saying. You were looking for me, but Ryan said—" "Ryan and I had a falling out," Dad admitted. "He was angry with me for how I treated you. We haven't spoken in years." My mind was spinning. All this time I thought he'd written me off completely, that he didn't care where I was or what happened to me. "Why?" I asked. Why look for me after what you said? Dad's shoulders slumped. Because I was wrong. So terribly wrong. His voice broke. After the business failed, after I lost everything, I realized none of it mattered. Not the money, not the career path, not the family business. I just wanted my daughter back. He pulled a worn photo from his wallet, the same one I had kept all these years. Us at Camden Hills State Park, Mom healthy and happy. This is all I have left, he said. Everything else is gone. The house, Mom's things, my business. When I lost all that, I finally understood what really matters. Family, love, the things your mother always knew. Tears filled my eyes. You told me not to come home, not to call. I know. He wiped his eyes with his sleeve. It was the worst mistake of my life, worse than the business failing, worse than anything. He told me how after the bankruptcy, he'd moved to Albany for a small accounting job, how he'd searched for me whenever he could, how he'd eventually landed at Beacon Hospitality Group in New York, ironically finding stability in the very industry he'd once despised. Working in hotels taught me it's not what I thought, he said with a sad smile. It's not just servant work. It's creating experiences, making memories, the things you tried to tell me. Part of me wanted to stay angry, to make him feel the pain I'd felt. But seeing him like this, older, humbled, broken, I couldn't do it. I'm sorry too, I said softly. I was young and stubborn. I should have tried harder to explain, to make you understand. No, he shook his head firmly. You followed your heart, and look at you now. He gestured around us. You were right. I was wrong. We talked for hours, about Mom, about the years we'd lost, about Ryan, who Dad promised to call, about his journey from Maine to New York, taking accounting jobs wherever he could find them, about my path from Boston to Miami to here. As the afternoon faded into evening, something shifted between us. The wall of hurt and pride started to crumble. Will you have dinner with me? Dad asked tentatively. There's a little Italian place around the corner, Giovanni's on 53rd Street. Nothing fancy, but the food is good. I smiled through my tears. I'd like that. Giovanni's was warm and cozy, with red checkered tablecloths and candles and wine bottles. We ordered pasta and talked more easily now, sharing stories from our years apart. What happens now? Dad asked as we finished our meal. With the company, I mean, with me. I'd been thinking about this all afternoon. Sunset hired me to turn Beacon around. That means evaluating everyone, making tough decisions. His face fell. But, I continued, we also need strong financial leadership, someone who knows the company from the inside, someone I can trust. Hope flickered in his eyes. You'd still want me to work there, after everything? I reached across the table and took his hand, the first time I'd touched him in 8 years. Dad, we've both made mistakes. We've both suffered. But maybe this is our second chance, to work together, to be a family again. He squeezed my hand, tears falling freely now. I'd like that more than anything. As we walked back to my hotel along Fifth Avenue, the city glowing around us, I felt lighter than I had in years. Tomorrow would bring challenges, merging companies, making hard choices, rebuilding trust. But tonight, for the first time since Mom died, I felt like I had a family again. Dad paused at a street corner, looking up at the tall buildings. Your mother would be so proud of you, Sam. So proud. She'd be proud of both of us, I said, linking my arm through his, for finding our way back to each other. Sometimes life gives you a second chance when you least expect it. Sometimes the hardest journeys lead you exactly where you need to go. 8 years ago, I left Moosewood Restaurant with nothing but a suitcase and broken dreams. Today, I signed a $750 million hotel deal and found something worth much more. The father I thought I'd lost forever. And that's a homecoming no amount of money can buy.